Welcome to the Don't Die Rusty podcast. I'm Rick Hansen, and we will be talking about living, not dying. We're all in this adventure together, and we will be interviewing people who inspire us to live our best lives. People with various backgrounds who will walk us down the trails they took to not die rusty. Adventure in life are many things to many people. It could be a sprint or an endurance race, but with each adventure, we become a better version of us. We hope you keep chasing those dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty. Hello, Don't Die Rusty Nation. We are here with another great episode with the Ricktastics.
Yep.
We have Ricky Bruley here. We have Kelly Lovelace here. And we have Ashley Kurtenbach. And then we have me, Rick Hansen. So we're the Ricktastics. And we will be playing at your next venue coming up in we're in the 20s now, so we're anyway.
Can I ask our listeners to come up with a really cool name for the four of us? Like, just anybody, if you think of something good, just send us a message and let us know what you think our name as a collective should be.
Exactly.
Ricktastics. It's okay. But I feel bad for Ashley and not Rick.
Kelly?
Not fair.
I know.
Right.
I just thought we sounded like a 1950s band, you know what I mean? The Ricktastics. Elvis is going to be coming out to play here a little later. But as always, we have a great conversations when we all get together, and this is one of the things that I really enjoy about Don't Die Rusty and podcasting, actually, is being able to hang out with these guys and talk about things that just come to mind. So I'm going to pose the first question tonight because I've been thinking about this. And after every episode we have, it's funny, like text messages that we get or send each other, because that thing popped into our head or this thing popped into our head, and what if this or that happened, you know? So my first question is going to be, so I want to live a good life, but there's people out there that want to live the long life that don't, I can't think of, who was that computer guy that was on a strict diet? Didn't you send me him, Ricky? Do you remember he was taking his son's blood? And do you remember that?
I don't know.
He owned. Didn't he own? I can't think of its name. I thought he owned a company, sold it, and has billions of dollars, or millions at least. And he was taking his son's blood and putting it in himself, and he was becoming and he's on a strict diet, he's on a strict sleep schedule, he's on a strict everything. I can't remember his name now.
Was that
Brian Johnson?
Brian Johnson.
Wicked.
But he owned what? He owned
the Plasma Exchange.
Yep.
That's
but anyway, it was, and what I'm talking about here is, so I'm glad we have Kelly on here, because doing all that stuff, living a good life, to me, these people that are trying to live the long life, they're so strict on everything, but they could be in a car wreck, or they, could die tomorrow of something. And are they living a good life? Because Ashley and I were talking, I think it was a couple of weeks ago, and it's that, is it wrong that we're not afraid to die? Because we believe we're going to a better place. It's not that we're trying to get there quicker. We just believe that living a good life is not like living the long life. That people are so strict that we got to work out, we got to sleep, we got to eat right, we got to not live life. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Well, I think I think it's relative. I think, the definition of the good life is different for everybody, and the definition of a long life is different for everybody. And I want to do both. You know what I mean? Like, I want to live a good life and I want to live a long life. I think that also when it comes to don't die rusty, right? Like, if you're the type of person that's very strict about your diet and you're taking all these supplements and you're doing everything that you can to live the longest life that you want, that may be the good life for that person. You know what I mean? That person might go, oh, you should never eat ice cream or drink alcohol or do anything like that. And again, that's just their way of not dying rusty, and that's their way of living a good life. So I think it's kind of relative. It just depends on, how you kind of feel about it. You know what I mean? Like, I would say that since we started this podcast, Rick, your thought process on how much ice cream you eat has probably changed. Right?
Well, it probably has. Yeah, it is. I'm down to a gallon a day. I'm just kidding.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah, I believe it's relative too. So it's just that, like, if you believe you're going to a better place, we don't push our philosophy on people. We let them listen to it and judge for themselves.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And what we were saying is, like, I'm not afraid to go do things because I believe that in the end I'm going to go to a better place. If we do that, then I understand, like we were talking earlier about, I take supplements and I go for walks and I do all kinds of things. I try to eat as best as I can. The ice cream gets me every doggone time, but But
Sorry, I hit you where it hurts. I know.
yeah, you did.
His favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, it is. But where do you go with that, Kelly? What do you say when people come up to you and say,
Well, let me tell you a story. So there's a story in the Bible where Jesus talks to a rich young ruler, and the guy comes up to him and he says, "Good teacher, how do I inherit eternal life?" And the first thing Jesus says to him is, "Why do you call me good? Only our Father in heaven is good." And then later on, Paul kind of breaks that apart and says, goodness comes from God. It doesn't come from anywhere else. We are not innately good in and of ourselves. We have to have that goodness shown to us and placed in us. So good has such a wide definition. It's really hard to pin that down. What's good? Good can mean a lot of different things. Ice cream is good unless you eat gallons of it, right? The decisions I make on a daily basis, are they good? And then what is our definition of bad? So if there's a good, there's got to be an alternative to that, a bad. So it's really trying to understand that. Paul, I believe it's in 1 Corinthians chapters 6, 7, and 8, gives a long dissertation about the good that I want to do and the good that I want to be. But in and of myself, I can't do it. I know what I should do, but I don't do that. I do instead what I hate. And it can get a little confusing, but in the end, it all hinges on Jesus. So if I'm going to look at it from that perspective, then good is who Jesus is, and anything outside of that ends up being something that's not good for me. Okay, now that's really hard. It's I've tried to teach it this way. I don't make God a priority in my life because He is my life. That's like saying, you know what? I'm going to make air and water a priority today. No, you kind of have to have those things, right? I mean, you can, if you don't have air, you're done. If you don't have enough water to last 3 days, you're probably done. So you can't make those things that are life-giving priority because that's what they're necessary. And for me, God is necessary. So He's the one who determines what's good. And then I move on from there. Paul says that to live is Christ and to die is gain. So as a believer, when I die, I gain. But if we're not careful, we become kind of what the religious side of church looks like. Oh, I'm saved and I got my ticket and I'm ready to go. So I'm good. But we don't live. We're waiting to die so we can get to heaven. Well, I don't think that's why Jesus came.
Mm-hmm.
I think he wanted us to live. He says that actually. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. So it's not about the next step. It's about where I'm at right now in this journey and how God wants to use me as I speak to people. And that is where I kind of hinge every decision that I make. I mean, that's my point. That's my goal. God is my heir. He's my life. And I move from there. So I don't know if I answered that question completely.
Yeah.
That's where I'm at with the good part of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
I hear you.
the longevity is, I could say I'm not the healthiest person because I really like food. And it gets tough when you're going up a mountain or when you're out on the prairie and you got to walk a long ways. It's like, maybe I shouldn't like food that much. So my longevity is probably not as long as I'd want it to be. But I'm not fearful of that next step, right? I'm not careless, but I'm also not fearful.
And that's kind of where I was trying to go. So you explained it well. Way to be my translator.
All right, perfect, man.
What do you think, Ashley?
Well, that was good. Well, we've had the discussion about living, like when you're living the life, to doing your best and doing good, right? And we said that from what I believe, you do that so that after you die, you go to a better place. That's not the in the same vein, you're living life to the fullest while you're here. But as far as longevity, me personally, if I die tomorrow, I'm good. Like, I'm okay. I
Right.
lived, I've lived a good life this far. I maximized it, I think, for what you can. For at this point in my life, there's plenty more to do, absolutely. And I wouldn't get to experience, the next 2 decades or 3 decades or whatever the timeline might be. But at the same time, if you do it right, it only takes once and you're okay with that. And if you've, you know, done a decent job to get to the better place at the end of the day, then that's success. I think that's what Jesus wanted, for bouncing off what Kelly said. That's what he wants. He wants you to live. He
Mm-hmm.
wants you to live for him, right? So
Yep.
it's kind of the way I guess I look at it. Longevity is not a thing. I'm not scared. I'm not scared of dying. But I remember thinking when I was younger and just growing up in a very religious home, and we would talk about, do you know where you're going to go? And you almost panic because you haven't lived enough life to have all those trials and tribulations necessarily like by that time to really know, like, I don't know, like where I stand. I'm 19,
Mm-hmm.
But I think once you've lived through life and you're like, no, these are how I'm handling certain trials in my life and taking the high roads, so to speak. I think you get more and more comfortable with death as you've experienced life and maximized it, so to speak. But yeah, some people are scared. Really, death is scary to think about, because it can be so uncertain. But I think if
Mm-hmm.
you know that I have lived the full life and I know at the end of the day how this ends, it's less scary.
Because listening to Dara Parker's episode, and I'm going to get into this part now because I think we can go a long ways with that, but is because when she talked about being a good person and putting in her children, what you just talked about roughly is like, in Jesus' terms, he was good to the children. I mean, us as the children of God, whatever. And the ripple effect is us. Somewhere along the lines, maybe the ripples get smaller and there needs to be another rock to be thrown in to give ripples to keep on reminding us. So can we be both the ripple and the rock?
I think so, and here's how I would put it. My choices are the rocks. So the choices that I make. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
So every choice I make is going to have an effect on someone.
Yep.
It's weird to say that, but let's say I'm choosing between Fruit Loops and Captain Crunch for breakfast, and I eat all of Captain Crunch. Well, somebody's not going to get Captain Crunch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So every choice that I make is going to have some effect on the people that are around me and that I live with. And my hope is that I'm making good choices, and those ripples begin to impact them.
Yeah.
So that they become the next ripple effect, or create the next ripple by making the right choices.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I think it's kind of both and. Like my choices are the rocks, but I'm also the first ripple because I got to make that choice.
Rick asked me that, and I said, well, why can't you be both? And because I thought of it a little bit differently. I thought if you're the rock, right? And then what you kind of leave in your wake, both good and bad, it are the ripples. At the same time, if I look at people who have influenced me, I'm the ripple effect from somebody who's influenced me. So if I take like my parents, I'm the ripple of their rock. So I think you can be both different situations.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Most of this, there's nothing new under the sun, and so most of the stuff that we're learning, we learn from somebody, and we're passing that on. So we become the vessel for the ripple. How about that? Say that 3 times real fast. Vessel for the ripple.
Well, because I like what you're saying there. And see, this is why we have these conversations, because I didn't think of it in those terms, because the choices we do make are the ripples, are the rocks, and the ripples that come after that choice can either hurt or help. And if we make better choices in life, then those ripple effects will keep on rippling to other people. Will see those good choices that you made. And sometimes they won't, but you're still influencing yourself and making better decisions in life.
Yeah, and the hope is that you're influencing them to begin to make better decisions in life because they see it come to reality in you, and they're like, well, he's making those choices or she's making those choices, and they're really working out for her. Maybe I should be making those choices instead of the ones I've been making. Like, it's the old Dr. Phil thing. How's that been working for you lately? Right? Like, that's what you've been doing. How's that been working? So to see somebody else succeed and to emulate that, like, isn't that the definition of a hero? You see your hero and you want to be like them. And so you begin to emulate what they do. You try to find out how they live and what they practice and all of those things. So that ends up impacting other people. That's the point of the show, isn't it? Like what we're doing here is people listening and they go, you know what, that makes sense. I need to add that. Or yeah, that makes sense. I need to get rid of that thing that I've been messing around with.
Exactly.
Focus on this. Right?
Yeah. I really like the way that you said that too, because it makes me think about just how I think a lot of our generation, we're really trying to kind of break the cycle from our parents. And I think, like you said, those decisions that were made, maybe those ripples are a little bit bigger, or maybe they eventually kind of turn into a wave and it creates some sort of trauma where you're like, you get to a certain point in your life and, kids or whatever it may be. And it's like, I want to give my kids a better life than I had, or what my parents had, or what, you know what I mean? Because I can look, my parents were great, but not perfect by any means. And I wanted to thrive to be better, but I can give them some grace in knowing what they had to go through. And so the ripple,
right,
what they had to deal with that affected them, And so it's been slowly over the generations. As parents, we've been wanting to be better than our parents, and I think it's just continuously getting better.
Ricky, I know, listened to it today, the episode again today, and I listened to it again today with Dara, because I think she's an impactful person. But she talked about the cherry blossoms. Do you remember that?
Yeah, with the mice. Yeah,
And the mice, and how they shocked the mice, and it went. They didn't even go after them. Was it 6 generations?
yeah.
Or 7? The 7th one. So the negativity of the choices you make in life could affect generations down the road because of your stupid decision at this time. I know they were being shocked, but still, you never know. I mean, you never know about the effects of what you're doing now. So what I'm saying is maybe the effects of good, and if we keep on pushing out the good vibes, the good thoughts, that affects somebody, and that'll be ingrained in someone. And it's in honesty, I think Ricky will say that too, and maybe all you, Kelly and Ashley too. But I think that we are becoming more. I mean, Kelly's a little different than us because he's a pastor, but I think the podcast has ingrained different ideas in us because of the open-minded thinking that we've had with other people, that we are becoming a better person throughout these conversations.
Yeah, I want to speak on that real quick too, just because I'm thinking again about, the generational stuff, right? And so, and with the podcast, we've talked about this before, how we're kind of creating a safe space where we can all kind of talk about these things, right? Things that people don't want to talk about, things that are uncomfortable to talk about. And we're letting people know that it's okay. Like, mental health, your faith, all those kinds of things. And I tell you what, you would never see my grandpa talking about this kind of stuff. And maybe might be able to talk my dad into it, but not a chance would my grandpa ever be putting himself out there like this. You know what I mean? All of that pent up, just all those things. Like, I just can't imagine. It makes sense why certain things took place back then, and times were a lot tougher too. So,
and I think questions weren't asked like this ever. Like you said, the conversations weren't brought up.
No.
Did you have conversations?
No. It's funny because as I get older, I've been asking my mom, maybe more because we're close. I mean, my parents were real young. It wasn't the ideal situation, right, to have me. So they're real young. But I've asked her over the years when I've noticed things. And I remember asking her questions when I was in my 20s. I was like, how come you never told me any of this stuff? I was like, I figured this out all on my own. Like, normal parents, or what I thought was normal, would talk to their kids about it. And she goes, I never got talked to about that. Why would I talk? So she just passed it along thinking it's normal. We don't, like Ricky just said, we don't talk about those things because it was never the case. And I asked my mom not that long ago, because something came up. And I said, do you feel guilty at some of the things that you did as a parent, as a young parent, right? They were real young. And I said, do you feel guilty about some of this stuff? And she goes, we weren't the best parents. She'll just straight up say it. She's like, we were not the best parents. And she goes, we were literally figuring out life at the same time as having a baby. And then also just saying, like, I may have made some poor choices, but I raised 2 extremely independent children. And thankfully, for the most, they question me sometimes how I turned out. But for the most part, we turned out pretty good. And she's like, would have I done things differently if I was a parent now? Absolutely. But we didn't talk about those things. And then I look at things like that too, like how we grew up. And I think my parents actually do look back 20, 30, 35 years ago and think, holy cow, we probably shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But it's like you turn out okay. It's just interesting because I've had these conversations in the last 5 years with my parents, just asking them, just seeing how I'm developing into an adult, and I don't have kids, but seeing how I was raised and asking them questions at what they think now looking back, instead of just not talking about it and going, well, we don't talk about that, type of thing.
Well, I think it's understanding begins to enlighten us, right? So we're able to hear some of this, and you're like, wow, normal wasn't healthy. Our normal was dysfunctional, right? And I think it's that way in a lot of the way we look at life is we just think, well, this is how I've lived, so everybody must live kind of like that. And it's not, that's not the truth. I mean, there's a lot of what we see as normal that's really not really that normal. So once we begin to see that and we begin to understand that, what are we willing to do to change it so we don't pass on the dysfunction? That's where I came from. Like, I remember having this conversation around the table. I think it was a Thanksgiving, and my dad was there. We were telling stories and laughing, and he looks at me and he goes, "It wasn't that hard living under my roof, was it?" And I go, "Oh yeah, Dad, it was tough." Like, he held an iron fist at our house, and it was kind of messed up, But we had to have a real conversation later, and he's like, "Oh, I'd have done so many things just a little bit different. It might have changed things, but I would be the person I am today, and my kids wouldn't be who they are, and the people I've met wouldn't have known me if those things had changed." Like, as hard as it was and as dysfunctional as it could be, it did develop me into the person that you guys know. And without that, who would I have turned into, or what would I have looked like?
Right. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of glad to be me. I'm okay in my own skin. And as you said, Ashley, I'm independent. I understand things. I see life. And I think I got a pretty good worldview. I want my kids to have that, and I want others to have that. So I'm trying to sift out the stuff that would paint that view so that it's clear, right? We all have these lenses we look through, and I want to have a clear lens to see what it really is about instead of what maybe I thought it was about because of the way I grew up. It's just that understanding, to hear the stories and begin to understand, well, why did you tell me that? Like, that brings a lot of clarity to this whole situation. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But you also talked about like breaking the cycle, kind of. I remember, I mean, I vaguely remember it was somewhere in my 20s, I think, maybe when I moved from my hometown. Like, it had to be either when I moved to Sioux Falls or when I married Jesse or whatever. Anyway, my parents still get together almost every Sunday, right, with family, Sunday dinner. And we'd always go over to my grandparents' house for it. And I don't know when it started, but I remember hugging my grandparents goodbye and telling them I love them. And my mom was like, "What?" Like, we don't do that. Like, I've never seen that, and it was just a shock. And now it actually it's normal in our house.
Right.
Back a generation. So now you're seeing great grandkids and grandkids, and now even kids hugging grandpa and grandma goodbye when that was, and I remember being younger, grade school, and not doing that. We did not do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know when that started, but that was breaking the cycle. I remember my mom's face was just like, I have never seen that before. Like, it's not normal.
Right.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I've ran across a handful of people that they're not huggers. And to me, I'm like, what? Like, oh, okay. I get don't know each other very well like that. I can understand, it's maybe a little bit too much, but I mean, I know entire families, like they just don't, they don't, like, you see them on the holidays and there's none of that going on. Huh. I'm like, is there even going to be a fist bump come out or anything like that? Hey, Mom.
Right.
fist
Just
bump.
see you next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's the door.
But not shame on anybody for that, but to me, that was like a complete and total foreign concept, and when people feel uncomfortable about it, and I'm just like, oh, okay. All right,
Do you think you became comfortable doing that? I know I did after you experience death in your like when someone dies and you're like, I can't believe that's the last conversation I had with them. Did that have an effect on you at
Well,
any point?
I don't know. We had a big family, and my mom's side of the family, they were not much for huggers. And then my dad's side was very much the opposite. And we spent more time with my dad's side of the family. And so I think that kind of came about, but big family, right? So big family, more people, and inherently there is more funerals. So I've been through a lot of that in my life. And so that's probably a big part of it. I never thought about that until you mentioned it.
It's interesting because I've made some people uncomfortable in my life, just being Rick. But this is funny. Yes. but it's funny because we get together, our circle of friends, and we walk up, male, female, we walk up and hug each other. It doesn't matter.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been in a few situations like, this guy reaches out and like, I don't know what kind of handshakes he's giving me, or is he going to give me a hug or what? And I've hugged a few guys and they went, whoa, and it's kind of funny.
That's why the bro hug never fails. You
exactly. It's like,
and then you pull them in.
Yeah.
Don't get a choice here, brother.
Right.
Yeah. And the hugging thing it's just interesting. I think it depends where you grow up, and I think some people are still that way.
Mm-hmm.
You can go to a little town, it's not going to happen probably. People are going to say, "What the heck?" I'm talking about like our circle of friends. If you walked up, they'd think probably other things of you.
I used to not be a hugger, but now I just break the silence. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and give you a hug. I tell them, so
Yeah.
you don't have a choice.
Now I give your mom a hug goodbye.
You have good conversations with people. You feel like you're on a different level, so to speak, maybe.
I don't know. It puts you somewhere. I mean, I think if you give somebody a hug, it just breaks the barriers.
Yeah.
I think you can test the genuineness of a person through the hug. I think you can sense it. If it's not for real and they're just doing it for show, you're kind of like, okay, But a real hug, I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we should stand on the street corner and just give free hugs.
I think that would be a good episode.
Seriously, I mean, think about that. Think about you're having a bad day and you just get a solid embrace, man. Everything melts away.
It's better.
Yeah. It's solid. Hugs are the best.
I've done that for customers before when they walk in, and sometimes, women need retail therapy, and when they come in and they will, if they feel comfortable enough, they spill the beans, and at the end of the appointment, half the time I'm like, can I give you a hug? And they're like, I'd love that.
Yeah.
And
so I just do.
And I love that because Susan does the same thing. Like she'll say that. She'll be like, she'll have a meaningful conversation with somebody at an art show or something like that. And to me, I'm kind of like, oh, okay. Like you're not seeing that happen at like the archery trade show or anything like that. Like I'm like,
no.
Thanks for shooting our.
Thanks for those broadheads.
Yeah. Can I? Oh man, so glad you had success. Can I give you a hug? That might be strange, but I do. I think that's really cool that, like in your case, Ashley, so it's the shopping therapy or even just being able to have a meaningful conversation with somebody maybe that you don't know very well, but it was just a very well placed moment. Right. So I think it's pretty cool.
I think that ties back into what we've talked prior also about building this human connection, because I've went for a listing appointment before with a couple, and I walked their whole property, sat down at the kitchen table with them. Sometimes I have a cup of coffee, but I remember this lady, she stood up. I put my business card and pamphlet on the table and I said, if you need anything, you just call me. And she looks at me, she goes, thank you so much. Can I give you a hug? I was like, yes. It was so cute. I've known these people for 45, 60 minutes is all, and it was like a hug from my grandma. It was amazing. It's just so fun to build those connections with people and just hopefully, I don't know. That's when I think you leave the world a better place, when you can inflect that with people.
Yeah, if Wild Mountain Man Dan wasn't off the grid, call him up right now because he's a professional hugger. So
Yeah.
try to get him on again for an episode. We'll just talk about hugs.
Yeah.
And it would be fun to like stand out for an hour or so and just give free hugs and see what would happen. But it's also that ripple effect we were talking about, though.
Yeah.
Like if somebody needed that today, I've done that too in the aspect of I haven't really asked, like Ashley asked, I just do it. They think you're weird anyway, so you might as well just do it. If you feel, and it shows you care. Because I think in this world right now, where we're at, we need to show people we care. Because we were talking in the last time Ricky and Ashley and I got together, we were talking about phones and being in lines and how everybody's looking at their phone, they aren't looking around. And I think there are some people that are searching for somebody to feel like they mean something to somebody. They don't have that human connection. They don't have that good friend. And it doesn't have to be just a hug. It can be like a hello or a smile. It can be some little form of connection that says, I mean something to somebody.
Yeah.
Because I think we've all evolved. We talked when we were all together, we've all been to those deep, dark places. But we came out. I think the difference and the reason we can talk about this and have conversations so other people can have conversations is because we found a confidence in ourselves that maybe we didn't have at periods in our life. Because right now, the more I really don't give a darn if people think I'm have nothing to say. I really don't care because I'm not talking to you then. You know what I mean? It's I have confidence in myself that we're making a difference. And
you don't want to hug me. You're the weird one. But it's just a gender thing. But if you can do the bro hug and you can get the fists and the arms in between each other, create that space, then it usually works out all right.
A little less awkward.
Now, if you're not on the same page about what you're gonna do, whether it's a fist bump or a handshake, and get kind of goofy,
and that's when you just call it out. You're like, "Well, that was weird."
Yeah.
I just keep on going.
Yeah,
just make it weirder.
Yeah, let's make it more odd.
Oh man, let's get weird.
That's called making a memory right there.
Yeah.
It's a connection that people need to start thinking about, I think, a little bit more. I just think humanity is being lost in some situations. And I'm saying that because of technology and because of, we are starting to be more unsocial, even though we're social critters, because we are texting. I mean, we've been reading, the extinction of experience a little bit, but people, I don't know if you got so far, but the kids text more these days than have a conversation with each other, which is amazing. And and all you guys know, I hate texting. I know you guys are screening your calls because you know it's going to probably be an hour by the time you get done talking to me. I don't mind a text here and there, like let's talk a little bit later. But the difference is it's funny because I remember when you had a dial-up phone in your house, no cell phones,
50 foot.
and when you got on the phone, you talked because that's what you had. You know, and you only went as far as the cord could go. You couldn't hide from anybody because we had one phone in our house and that was it. So what I'm saying is texting, and how many people in South Dakota, they did it in Gettysburg, I saw, and I can't remember, there's like 3 other schools. They made the kids put their phones in this little bag and they can't get it out till like lunch hour or recess or whatever they have. They can't use it in school, and because it was distracting, their learning opportunities. And I think I really got in that, like when we're losing patience with the outside world because we need to be entertained continually. Like, let's look at a video, let's look at a meme, this is funny. We don't daydream about going places. You know, I want to go to New Zealand. I want to go see things. I want to experience these things. And are we experiencing them on our phone and we say that's enough?
For
I
some
don't
people,
know.
yeah. I'm at that part in the book now where they're talking about they ask the question to some people, how would you feel if you were disconnected from social media for 24 hours? And, you know, like some of the responses were like, I would die, you know, stuff like that. Like, or not literally. I certainly do my fair share of, you know, scrolling and stuff like that, you know, and it's part of my day to day too. So like when I'm at home, I don't really want to do it. You know, I still find myself engaging that, but to like absolutely my life is over because I can't be on it for 24 hours. That's alarming to me that people would actually.
Yeah.
And so it's like, holy mackerel, like it could seriously become a serious problem. I think it's definitely something that needs to be paid attention to. And then just the thought process of anything that you're engaging in that's free, like that makes us the product. And so that is also somewhat alarming. And the fact that experience on Instagram is completely the opposite of what Susan sees on her page because of the way the algorithm kind of just like steers you in. So we all have our own little universe that we're living in on there. And that's scary to me too.
I agree with you there because I love getting out of service where you have no service. There's no excuse because, you know what, I don't have service. I can't scroll. Then I can look at the things that are out there. And I like what you're saying, Ricky, because Cindy's algorithm is totally different from mine.
Right.
And Ashley and Kelly's algorithm's different than ours.
And maybe Ashley and I are a little bit different than you two in this regard. When you have those moments where I don't have any service, or maybe my phone is dead, or something happens, right? It's amazing how many times I'll pull my phone out to try to look at it because I might be in a conversation. It's like, oh, let's look it up.
Yeah.
I'll do that 30 times before I remember, oh, my phone's dead. But then, like you're saying, when we're out in the wilderness or we're doing things like that, eventually, like when I go up to the Boundary Waters, it's like I never even think, like my phone is just shut off and I don't even think to touch it. And I don't miss it. I don't, because of everything that is around me. There's constantly stuff to do. My focus is on literally living, surviving, getting through the day, getting water, getting food, doing all those things. So yeah, anyway, I just thought that I just wanted to point that out, how amazing it is, how many times I'll pull my phone out just for, I don't know, fact checking, or, oh, well, let's look this up, or, oh, well, oh, hey, yeah. And it just becomes really part of the conversation. Please just keep it in your pocket, for crying out loud.
We have lost ideas because all we're doing is texting people. We aren't having a face-to-face conversation, or emailing, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not saying it isn't bad, but I also see in my line of work where our salesmen, I work in a building materials company that we sell to contractors, and our salesmen are getting calls from contractors and texts at all hours of the night. Because I hear this, and it's like there has to be some personal space that you have to give. And what I'm saying is, before cell phones, you only had that one number, and there's nothing you can do. Even now, like if somebody called you now, there is no business you can do at 9 o'clock at night. You know what I mean? So why are you calling me? They're texting these guys because they don't want to forget. Well, there's a thing called a pen and a paper, and you can. There's also a thing called email, but I think people are losing control of themselves into like, I don't text anybody after 8 o'clock unless I know you. I might text but I text Ashley like at 6 in the morning because I know she's up.
Yeah, I can text you at probably 5, huh?
You can, and you can text me. I start getting texts from workers like they can't make it to work or whatever at roughly 5:30. I'm out on a walk and my phone's starting to light up in the dark, and I could probably walk home at times. But what I'm saying is there has to be a personal space that people need to understand that they need to give. And I think we're losing that because everybody wants something at the snap of their fingers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how to get back to giving conscience or giving manners or giving thoughtfulness to other people. And that's where us having this conversation, maybe the ripples will start going out.
I think part of that is when you look at that, because of how the world is now, you have to create your own boundaries. And you have to, when people break those boundaries, you have to reset them and redirect them. Now it's even worse. You want to talk about customer service? So now that those messages through social media come through business pages to your phone, that's awful. Because I'll get customer service at 11 p.m. and they're on whatever coast, right, asking about products. And that means they want the answer right now. Well, we don't have 100. It's me. It's me and 2 other people, maybe. We don't have 200 people just ready to answer text messages. But people in that book, I don't know, I think you're close to that part, or maybe you've just read it about the patience thing. It goes all the way back to Adam and Eve, and how if there was patience, how much different the world would be right now. Like, we are literally losing patience all the time. No one wants to wait. And they talked about the waiting. When you wait in a line, if it's less than 3 minutes, people don't notice. But as soon as it tips over the 3 minutes, people are like, I've been here for 10 minutes. And that's interesting to think about, but that is part of it. Is they don't want to forget. Also, they want the answer first thing in the morning or right now when they're working. So I think we have to establish boundaries, even in our own family, to say, hey, I will get back to you in the morning. Right now, I am, because I've had to do that, because people they don't care if I'm eating dinner. They don't care. They're like, you can eat the whole time you're on the phone with me, just answer my questions. And I'm like, no, I will call you back. I am eating with my family.
Right.
I will call you when I am finished.
Yeah, it's funny you say that, because that's what I was thinking about. I know a lot of people that work in sales, and so they're getting orders all hours of the day. Like, we're sitting there trying to have dinner or whatever, or it's maybe later in the evening, and I'm just like, what is the deal? And we'll have guys, sometimes we have to call a customer and ask a question, and they'll call the customer with their cell phone, and I'm like, don't ever do that, because now you're the main point of contact. They're like, ooh, I have a connection at Vapor Trail that I can talk to directly. And pretty soon they're placing orders with a builder. We have a builder, a string builder, who's getting orders coming from a dealer. I get it in sales positions where you want to have that direct line of communication. You want to be able to respond quickly. But to Ashley's point, I think you got to set that boundary, and you just got to say, hey, don't do that. Or you just, now you can silence your phone. So there's always that too. But, and I wanted to go back to what you were talking about, Ashley, about the patience thing, because I thought it was interesting when they talked about the airlines and how their ratings were dropping substantially as far as like wait times, because they used to have the baggage claim right there when you came off the gate. So people would come off the gate and then they'd have to sit and wait and wait and wait and wait and wait. And people were getting upset about it and giving them bad ratings. So what they did is they moved the baggage claim 8 minutes away because they figured out that people's threshold was like 6 minutes. So now you get off the gate and then you have to walk. It seems like it's less time. By the time you walk to the baggage claim, now your bags are starting to come out and people get less hostile. It's amazing that we're having to go to those lengths in order to appease people's level of patience.
These are mottos, though. Have it your way. That's Burger King.
Yep.
Nike is just do it.
Mm-hmm.
And you start looking at the brand mottos, and you're like, it's all about you and right now. Get it right now, and get it the way you want it. And it's a culture that's been bred into the way we live today.
Mm-hmm.
So it's hard for people. I'll tell you what, I have to set boundaries big time.
Oh, yeah.
And so my phone goes off at 9:00 typically. Like I've got it off. And the only way you're going to get a hold of me is if it's an emergency. So It's one of those deals. And there's certain people that can get through to me, like the police chief and the fire chief and the hospital, in case something's going on. But you've got to have those boundaries. Like, how do you recharge your batteries if you're constantly having to deal with all of this? And it will consume you if you let it. So I agree with what you're saying 100%. Like, boundaries are important, and people are going to think you're weird, or they're going to be upset with it. But at some point, they'll get used to it because they know in the morning she gets back with me. In the morning, he takes care of it, right? And that's it. Once you start to set that in the lives of people you're dealing with, they can rely on it. But until that happens, until you're setting those boundaries and having those conversations with certain people, it can be all-consuming. That's been my experience.
Yep.
And it's also about consideration. Ricky says he's going to have a weekend away with Susan. I'm just saying, I'm not calling or texting Ricky. I will not do that, because I know it's him. And, you're trying to have alone time with that person. And when we're talking about patience, now I had just today, I had a 3:30 appointment to have blood taken. To donate blood. I didn't get out of there till 5:05. Guess how long it took me to have my blood once they got me set up? 4 minutes and 20 seconds, and I was done pumping my blood.
That's one heck of a heart you got there, Rick.
That's right.
I was patient. I was getting a little pissy, but I was patient. But I'm not going to give them.
Does Rick need another cookie?
No.
Blood pressure.
But I have to get. But it's also funny because one of the reasons is a lady passed out, so that is one of the reasons. So I have to give that. But it's still like, no, I had a couple Kit Kats and a Reese's bar. Okay. Anyway. But they said, you're supposed to wait 15 minutes or whatever. I said, I got to get going, guys. I just pumped out my blood in 4 minutes, 20 seconds. I'm good. I'm walking out. So I just walked out and kept on. You need something to drink? Oh, yeah. Thank you.
You're.
I think we're all on this path here, and I enjoy it, and I hope that we are making it, letting other people think, but also I like what Ricky said in the beginning, and if you've made it this far, you'll know again. Think of what to call this little group of I don't know what we could call ourselves, philosophers. You know what I mean?
Philosophists.
Yeah,
I was just gonna say misfits, but that's what I call all the group that travels with Total Archery Challenge
Yeah.
at the
it
time.
could be the philosophits or something. But anyway,
Chime in,
But-
everybody. Let us know. Get
Yeah.
whatever you got, even if it sounds ridiculous. You know, maybe we can combine a few of them to make something amazing.
exactly. But I want to thank you all. You know, these conversations like stick with me for till the next time we have these conversations, and I keep on sending texts and thoughts about this stuff, and I keep on getting books that I think I just got the new Ryan Holiday book. I actually gave it it's called Right Thing Right Now. It's a really good book. I've kind of delved into that while I was still reading The Extinction of Experience, of course, but and then, but I think
Man on the Run. I think Man on the Run is another one we thought about having a discussion about.
Oh,
Have you
It
read that,
definitely
Kelly?
is, man.
I haven't. Man on
who's
the
the
Run.
author?
It's a good one. It's actually written by a pastor. Hang on a second. I thought I had the book out here, but
Do you have that? Have you read that book?
I haven't.
No.
or maybe it's not Man on the Run. Maybe it's
It is. It's some book.
On the Wings of a Dove.
Now we're really gonna get them all confused.
No, Man on the Run is Paul McCartney.
yeah. I'm
Man on the Run.
Yeah.
Wait. Okay. It is Man on the Run. It's so the title of the book is Man on the Run: Helping Hyper Hobbied Men Recognize the Best Things in Life. Really, really good book. Zeke Pfeiffer is the author.
Okay.
A good one.
Nice.
And the thing is, well, like with Kelly, you probably already live that. You know what I mean? You probably have that problem. You know, not to say that you're not a hyper hobbied man, but I think you've probably already figured it out.
Yeah.
Add
but
to
still,
cart.
Well,
it
I'd probably like to believe that.
Yeah. but it was definitely something that I needed. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah. Yep.
I was so into all kinds of different things, you know, and it just took away time spent with the people that are important. So it's really good. It's really good.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Zeke
but
Pfeiffer. I'll have to get that one.
because and it's interesting because we're bringing back more reading than, I mean, you can read it. I like a real book myself. I can't read a book on a Kindle because I like to use my pencil and underline things that I want to remember.
Same.
And,
Yeah. I think reading's a lost discipline, and it's something that if we could bring that back, that at least to a certain segment of people, that'd be really good. Like, people are always like, I got kids when I sub, they go, "How do you know that?" And I go, "I'm well read." And they go, "What does that mean?" "I've read a lot of books." Because they just don't take their time, you know? So I'm glad that you guys are talking about books and actually getting into and reading them. So
It's funny. Just thinking about what you just said, I can see how like a youngster would think, you know, when you say I'm well read, they'd be like, people read you, they can read you.
Because
yeah,
are they in high school and they know more than green eggs and ham, right?
Well, yeah, most of them. I
I'm
mean,
just kidding.
I can't honestly say high schoolers know more than green eggs and ham. They have. I don't know if they do this everywhere else. Like, Brule, you probably have kids that are reading AR books. It's a accelerated reading program, and I got all of them do it all the way through senior in high school. And some of the books that these high schoolers are reading, you're like, come on, like that's a second grade book. What in the world are you doing? So honestly, I don't know if they're reading more than green eggs and ham.
Today, I just found another book that I'm probably going to get. I got to get a little bit caught up here, but it's called The Courage to Be Disliked. And it's by Ichiro Kishimi, and it's Japanese. It's the Japanese phenomenon that shows you how to change your life and achieve real happiness. But it's the courage to be disliked. And I thought that was quite an interesting thought there. I just saw it today, and because I just love books.
It
I
can
do.
come in a
Yeah.
it can come in a 2-pack with the courage to be happy.
You know. So anyway, so maybe we could start a book club too. We'll start a
Yeah.
I think I
different.
want to.
Yeah. The
Yeah,
Don't Die Rusty
I
Book
don't-
Club. Well, Don't Die Rusty fans,
Well,
you got some words of wisdom for us, Kelly?
Uh,
Because we've talked about the good life. We talked about dreams.
Did we get from Kelly yet what his next big adventure is going to be?
What's your next big adventure,
my
Kelly?
next big adventure is chasing whitetails in Iowa.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Yeah. I'm leaving Sunday to go chase some big whitetails down there.
Oh
So,
man.
Well, good luck.
10 days of Iowa bliss. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, man.
All
That'll be
right.
So,
You're
yeah, that's my next big one, I guess.
you're coming
All
over to
right.
my neck,
Yeah.
heading over to yours here in a couple weeks.
All right.
Well,
So
Yeah, pretty excited about that. So that's going to be a big deal.
awesome.
Been waiting. That's a hard tag to draw. It takes about 5 years.
Yeah. So, well, awesome. What are you going to do, Ashley, for your next big adventure?
Black Hills Rifle opens up in like 2 days. Real excited.
Yes.
I'll still bow hunt. I've been pounding the woods. I've tried the hang and sit, surprisingly. Those systems are really nice. It's a lot of stuff to carry in. But those are
Yeah.
pretty cool. But yeah, we got that coming up. I'm pumped for November.
Yeah.
yeah. Yep.
How about you, Ricky?
Next big adventure, 8 days or 9 days or something, North Dakota.
That's when you leave?
Well, that's how long I'll be out there. So I'm leaving on the 19th. And
Nice.
yeah, I'm excited. I'll let all these other fools run around out there, try to see if they can get one early, and then
Yeah.
I'll pick up the pieces at the end when they're trolling.
Come in and drop the hammer.
Yeah,
That
That's
is-
right.
yeah,
That is actually the best time to go. That's
Yeah.
why we
Yeah.
always go in December.
Yeah.
yeah.
You
It's
know.
just yeah,
So, yeah.
and the beauty is too is it's colder, right? And nobody wants to go sit out in the cold. Well, I invite it. I'm excited.
Yes.
It's gonna be awesome.
Good to hear.
Yep.
So,
All right.
my ne-
Rick, how about you? What's your big adventure?
I'm going to go to bed. No, I'm just kidding.
Thank you.
Uh,
I'm going to go to sleep.
Yeah.
I'm going to dream about big adventures. No. Well, I'm going. My next adventure is I'm going back to my dad's this weekend, so that'll be good to catch up with my dad.
yeah.
Then November's just jam packed. Probably my biggest adventure, really truly coming up, will be my first time to Alaska at Christmas time. Cindy,
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Cindy's son moved to Wasilla, and we're flying up for Christmas for a week.
I didn't know that. That's going to be fun.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
And, you
Yeah.
know, even though there's only like 4.5 hours of light, so I'll really get to see a lot of stuff in the dark. but it'll be a fun time.
Yeah.
And cold, but
Yeah.
I like Ricky,
We'll
I
just be sure to
invite.
be. We'll just be sure to be lighting up your phone constantly so you can see your way.
Exactly. Thank
Yeah,
you.
that's right. Yeah.
Boundaries non-existent.
I'll be looking for people to do podcasts with. I'll be walking down the street and bumping into people. Maybe I don't know what's going on there, but it'll be interesting. I think it'll be quite the adventure. We're going. I told Cindy we need to make sure we have one weekend, so we're going up the weekend before Christmas, and so we have a weekend that if something's going on, it always happens on a weekend, and then we'll be up there till the next Friday. We'll leave on a Friday and come home on a Friday. And it will be fun. I like I said, it'd be interesting in the summer where you get to see things more, but this will be fun. It'll be like I love adventures. I might be crazy, but I love airports.
Wow.
I
What?
do love airports because I love the people. I
What?
do. I love seeing people, and I love bumping in. I love the conversations you have with people sitting right next to you. You never met them before in your life, and the, I've I've met when I used to fly to Australia a lot. It was like I sat by this guy. I had a 10-hour layover in San Francisco, and
Oh.
me and this guy from New Zealand just became buddies. He'd watch my bag, I'd watch his bag. We'd talk to the Hare Krishnas because this was a long time ago when they could walk in the airport and talk to you. But I mean, the conversations you have with people that you're sitting with is amazing, and I just love the different people and looking at the different people because you see the guys that think they travel a lot and they want to look cool walking down the deal, like this is nothing, and then you got the people that are panicked. And then you got
Which
the
is 98%.
Yep. Then you got the people not paying attention to anybody, and the little car is carrying the older person that can't drive around, get down there as fast, so they won't get out of the way. And you're going, what the heck? And then you got the people that are just like lollygagging and looking around, and that's me. And then you got,
You're the guy that's walking against the grain
I am.
on the wrong side of the hallway.
I do. It's just,
You're
it's when.
You're the guy who stands in the middle of the conveyor, like those little.
Oh,
Yeah.
The one who just stands there. Hey, how's it going? Strike a conversation with someone trying to get.
It is. It's funny though. Have you ever sat there and wondered what all these people? Where are they going? What are they doing? If you sit in you get to your terminal and you're sitting, you're looking at people like, where did they come from? What's their life like? Where are they going? Why? And you make up stories for people like, I'm going here, I'm going there, and it's interesting. Like, for me,
it's funny whenever I fly through Denver, which is 90% of the time.
Yeah,
I always try to pick out the hunters. I just look at their backpacks. I'll see like a mystery ranch at a Cafaro. I was like, oh, I could probably relate to those people. That's all I do.
And so here's the one funny thing though, because we got the tickets, and I think the longest we have in an airport is 1 hour and 2 minutes supposedly. So we only have 45 minutes to get to a terminal. So here's the thing that's going to be exciting about this. Cindy doesn't like running through an airport. I have no problem. I remember that makes you look.
No, you're going to be the people on the cart.
Gonna give her
Huh? No. But the funny thing is, Astrid just said that, guess what? We'll be both carrying our sick carry-on on, so you'll know we're a hunter, but so you're going to get out of our way. But it's just funny because...
Just don't fall. I've done that before.
Yeah.
Racing somebody. It's no joke. I fell on one of those conveyor belts. And the whole gate was in Minneapolis, and the whole gate stopped and looked at me, and they were like, oh, and it was with Kelly and Alex, and they were laugh crying to the point that I was crying. I tore my leggings, the whole thing. I was like, this is so stupid. I was like, what are we doing? Oh,
but those are I think it's fun. I think it's fun to imagine where people go, and I think you know, I'll be carrying some Don't Die Rusty stickers, and if you see the right person, like, hey, you look like you should be a Don't Die Rusty person. Like,
Yeah.
because I've met people like Dusty Rhodes when he was a wrestler, the American Dream,
The
and
American Dream, baby. Yeah.
you know,
Dusty Rhodes.
Oh my gosh.
and some people are afraid to go talk to people. I'm not. So I met Dusty Rhodes. I didn't get a picture. This is before cell phones. That's the funny thing, but so I didn't get a selfie with him. But it's one of those things and he was on our flight too, and it's just fun. And I think more people, if you go to the airport and you look around, it's like, because you fly we're flying out of Rapid, but you fly out of Rapid, we're flying to Dallas Fort Worth, and you look at where are all these people going, and then we're flying up to, it's just Anchorage. I mean, fly to Seattle, and where are all these people going? Then you fly into Anchorage and you say, this is cold. Why are we here? No, I'm just kidding. But, but anyway, I'll let you guys go. I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank you, Ricky, for being my partner here in this endeavor that we're doing. Because
yeah, man,
we wouldn't be here without you.
Same to you, brother.
And I want to thank Ricky. I want to thank Kelly here, because I wouldn't be here without you.
Mm-hmm.
You know that. I mean, thank you. And I want to thank Ashley for being here, because I just vent with her.
I'm the unpaid therapist.
And translator.
Yeah, and translator. Yep, absolutely.
But I want to thank you guys. So yeah, you guys are very important to me in my life, and I am lucky to have each and every one of you guys. And I think you need to say that kind of stuff. Like, people need to hear it, and I say it because I mean it, and I think everybody needs to hear good things. And these are you three. That's why we're here. This is we picked you guys. Ricky and I picked you guys, and we have these conversations, and some of them might be lighthearted and some of them might be heavy, but I thank you for all the conversations we have. And it's just one of those deals that this is a good combination, I reckon. And I think that we just keep on making life a lot better for ourselves and other people. So
give us a name.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, give us a name.
Yeah.
So and it can't be the Avengers.
No, I know. I was just thinking we're gonna get some Marvel, some sort of derivative of that or something.
Yeah, the Revengers.
Yeah.
This is getting crazy here, because all I'm thinking about is like ABBA, Super Troopers.
Yeah.
ABBA,
Super Trooper. But anyway, well, thank you guys for joining us.
I'm honored. Honored to be a part.
Thanks for having us, Ricktastics.
Yeah.
Ricktastics.
Yeah. Thank you, guys. Love you guys.
All right. You guys have a good night.
All right.
Well, we'll see you later, Don't Die Rusty Nation. And as always, keep chasing your dreams, being the best you, and of course, don't die rusty.
Thank you for listening to the Don't Die Rusty podcast with your hosts, Rick Hansen and Ricky Bruley. The Don't Die Rusty podcast is written and produced by Rick Hansen and Ricky Bruley. You can find us on Instagram and on Facebook at Don't Die Rusty. You can rate and review this show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You might find your review read on a future episode. Got a question for the Ricks? Send us an email at don'tdierusty@gmail.com. It too could be featured on a future episode. And if you haven't already, Please subscribe to the Don't Die Rusty podcast wherever fine podcasts are downloaded.